The battle for the best whiskey of 2023 continues. Let's dive in to round 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, honestly, one of my favorite things to do as somebody who has a whiskey YouTube channel is to do this end of the year bracket where we determine what the best whiskey of 2023, in my opinion, really was. So if you've missed the first part of this series, we did do the first 5 contenders from my 10 favorite whiskeys of 2023 already. So click up here to see that part. This is round 2 where we'll do the next 5. And then the 2 winners from this round and the 2 winners from the previous round will all go head to head in a final blind matchup to determine the best whiskey of 2023. But today, we've got to pick 2 of 5 fantastic whiskeys. So let me introduce you to the contenders for this second round. So first up, we've got the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged, an absolute heavy hitter, got a lot of hype this year and deserves it because it's fantastic. This has been one of my front runners in my mind for Whiskey of the Year since I got it. Here we've got kind of a surprise resurgence in a sense for Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch A123. The last video, round 1, we had the C923, which has gotten a lot of hype, but A123 started off the year strong. And when I tasted it compared to the other batches of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof this year, I was surprised at how phenomenal it really was and how much it stood up to the test. Then here we've got one of my favorite lines in whiskey right now, Larceny Barrel Proof. We've got the B523, which I thought was by far the best batch of this year. 3 solid batches, but this one stood out among the rest. Then we've got a Dark Horse standard offering. This is a $50 bottle. Bardstown Bourbon Company's bottled and bond wheated product. 6 years old at least. I think this is one of the best regular releases I've tasted in a long time. And at 100 proof, I'm hoping it stands up to the test here. And honestly, if this takes down any of these, it'll be a testament to how great this whiskey is. And then last but not least, we've got the Michter's 10-year-old rye from this year, 2023. Just recently cracked this one open and tasted it, and honestly, I think it's the best rye I've ever had. So interested to see how a rye stands out among the rest here. So those are the contenders today. Without further ado, let's dive into it. I'm going to remove these bottles and then we'll mix up the glasses and dive right into the blind. Okay, everyone, we've got our full blind set up here. Everything's mixed up. I have no idea what the order is. I obviously do know what the bottles are, so it's not a double blind, but with 5 to track here, it should be pretty hard to guess what each of these is. Before we dive in, do want to say, while I might be releasing these videos like just after New Year's, the goal is to get the channel to 2,000 subscribers. So if we haven't gotten there already, would appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and joining us for the journey of 2024 and beyond. Planning to release a lot of great content and continue to grow the channel. While you're at it, hit the like button. That's what helps get the video out to most people. And then comment down below. How do you think this is going to go? Which of these 5 do you think is going to advance? Again, we're going to pick our 2 favorites. Okay, let's dive in now. Let's go into the full blind of 5 fantastic whiskeys. All right, so this will be glass A, and we will work our way down to glass E on the end here. All right, glass A on the nose. Ooh, a little astringent, but nice and fruity. Coming forward with vanilla and cherry, some honey, some brown sugar and spice. Almost like a plum grape richness to it. And then a nice like honey vanilla kind of punch all around it. Really, really nice. Great start. Let's go to glass B on the nose. Ooh, even sweeter. But in a different way, like a really nice vanilla sweetness, slight bread note, honey, raspberry. Definite raspberry coming through. Almost a little tang to it with that raspberry. Nice pungency to it in a good way. It's just powerful, but very light and sweet. Glass A was a little richer and darker, and Glass B is a little bit lighter and brighter. All right, let's go into Glass C on the nose. Definitely a rounded, some base tones to this one. Some brown sugar, maybe some nuttiness, almost like an almond kind of nuttiness. And then some cinnamon, maybe a touch of chocolate as well. That one just speaks of a little bit darker tones to it as well. All right, let's go to Glass D here. Oh, okay. Lemon citrus, more punch, potency. It's really jumping out of the glass. Some like poppy seed, freshness, some mint. That could be a rye. That could definitely have a rye presence to it. Oh yeah, vanilla, honey, lemon, citrus. And that one's jumping out of the glass the most out of all these so far. Okay, last but not least, Glass E on the nose. This one has like a coolness to it, almost like, I don't know, it's giving me this like dark, rich vibe. Definitely like a dark caramel, some maybe like a plum note, some cherry. It's like cool, dark, rich notes all throughout. Yeah, this one's like inviting you to dig in more and kind of explore the depth of it. All of these are really good. None of them are a disappointment. That's part of, being one of the best whiskeys of 2023 that I've tasted. Of course, though, the palate's going to give us a lot more information, so let's dive in there. Glass A on the palate. Ooh. All right, that's got some proof on it, I can tell you. It was way more cinnamon, brown sugar spice on it than I was anticipating, but in a really good way. Very robust. A little bit of vanilla peanut action going on as well, and then kind of a dark cherry. But it really came forward with some spice and cinnamon punch. Great start. That's a full force whiskey there for sure. All right, let's move on to Glass B on the palate. Cheers. That is a much more subtle and easy to sip on experience. A lot of vanilla, soft, rich vanilla. A lot of honey, very honey forward. That raspberry note that I detected on the nose really came forward, like strong berry presence to this one. And it's just very easy to sip on, very mellow, but in a great way. And it continues to linger with that like honey, raspberry, just pleasant experience overall. All right, let's move on to Glass C here. Okay, so that's much more similar to Glass A. Again, some of that peanut roastiness or cinnamon power to it. The finish is nice and vanilla, maybe a touch of chocolate as well. It's good. It was spicy in the mid palate for sure. Kind of kicked up with some oak and spice. A little bit oak on the finish too. But yeah, we've kind of gone powerful full force with Glass A, very subtle and very sweet with Glass B, and then now we've gone back to that cinnamon punchiness in Glass C. So we'll see what the last two have for us here to round out the full blind. All right, let's go into Glass D on the palate. Wow. Wow. Okay, That is so refreshing. Lemon citrus, vanilla, like really, really good vanilla extract. A little bit of like a brown sugar, gingerbread cookie thing going on as well. That is so full of flavor and also very, very easy to sip on, like deceptively easy to sip on. Whew. Okay, really, really good. And last but not least, let's move on to glass E here. Wow. A lot of what the nose offered is there. It's this like really deeply layered cherry, plum, grape fruitiness. And then on top of that is this like caramel, little bit of chocolate note. It's got depth to it. This one has like a deep, deep resonance to it. It's really, really nice, but it's very fruity and very rich and very cool tones, like not very spicy. A little bit of spice kicked up in the mid palate, but compared to like glass A and glass C, this one has a little touch of spice, but it's much more these like cool tones. And then you got glass D, which is more refreshing. And then you got glass B, which is more like light and honey and raspberry forward. Very interesting lineup here. So what I'm gonna do now is go back in reverse order and then do some A-B comparison just for myself to kind of discern my preferred order here. I'm gonna fast forward through all that so it's not a super long video for you guys, but I'll recap the experience for you so that you know how it's all gone. Okay, that was a lot of fun. These are all fantastic. It's awesome to get to go back and forth and kind of test these out against each other. Just to give you a recap of reverse order and A/B testing, a lot of things have stayed the same. Glass E is this cool, rich, really, really robust experience. Glass D is the most refreshing and it's just really, really good. Glass C continues to bring a lot of cinnamon spice. Glass B is really nice and light and fruity. And then glass A has actually developed the most. Glass A now has the most oakiness to it. Almost a tobacco note to it as well. So some opening up, some staying consistent, but it's been a fun lineup for sure. So let me run through my order here. Took a little while to come up with a definitive order today, but I think I've got it down. For me, in 5th place was the one that had the most heat and kind of spice that made it hard to discern other flavors among the rest of these options. And so that was glass C. And honestly, I have very little idea about what the order is here. I have a couple that I think I've picked out, but this one I'm not sure at all what glass C was. So let's see. Wow. That's the Larceny Barrel Proof. Yeah, today it just came forward as very spicy compared to the others and a little bit aggressive. Lots of great flavors in there, but that kind of gave it a little knock compared to the rest. Let's move on to 4th place today. For me, in 4th place was glass B. Really, really nice. The extra layer of raspberry and honey, really, really good. But it just didn't quite have the potency of the others and the robustness. So it's in 4th place, and that is, okay, that's the Bardstown Wheated. That makes a lot of sense. You compare these two wheated offerings, one's barrel strength, one's 100 proof. And honestly, today I enjoyed the Bardstown more. I enjoyed the more subtle honey raspberry layers that this added in, whereas the Larceny just kind of blew out my palate a little bit with its spiciness. So that tells you how freaking well-rounded this is for $50. Bardstown, you get a little golf clap. phenomenal $50 release. Like, the fact that you can just go into most stores and pick this up is crazy. It's really, really good. So, well done. Okay, now, here's where we get to the tough part. The final three, the top three here, were really hard to pick among. Ultimately, I found an order, but all three of these are phenomenal. And if you had any of these whiskeys, it would be one of the best whiskeys of the year for sure. Ultimately for me, third place came in as Glass A. The oak note that developed on this was phenomenal. Again, it's a little spicy, a little bit cinnamon forward, but it's great. The other two just kind of stood out a little bit more. So let's see what Glass A was. That's the Craig Barrel Proof A123. Makes a lot of sense. The amount of oak that came forward on this as it opened up was awesome, but it just didn't quite stand up to the other two. It's a little spicy, but in a good way. It's really robust. It's really, really good. It's just a case of the other two were even better. So this is not a disappointment at all. A123 has made a phenomenal showing this year, and it's one of the most underrated batches of Craig Barrel Proof. Because C923 is so good, don't sleep on A123. That leaves us with two options left, D and E. Which one comes in first? Which one comes in second? For me today, that means we've got the Cellar aged and the Michter's 10 as our options left. I think I can discern which one is which, but today the ultimate winner is Glass D. So full of flavor, so rich. Vanilla, lemon, citrus, honey, a little bit of a savory note. It's unbelievably good. And then Glass E is those cool dark tones that are just so interesting and you can explore forever. But the winner today is Glass D. So let's see what that was. I think I know, but let's see. Yeah. Wow. Michter's 10-year-old rye is your winner. And that means your runner-up. And moving on, though, to the next round is Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. Makers, congratulations again. You heard the cries of the people and you made a 12-year-old whiskey that is phenomenal. It's so interesting how cool, my mind goes to the cellar they aged it in. There's these cool dark tones like rich plum, cherry, and grape that you want to dive into, and they've captured that so well in this bottle. But to be honest with you, I've never tasted a better rye than this Michter's. The lemon, poppy seed, dessert, buttercream frosting craziness that is this rye at 92 proof. It's just absurd how much flavor is in that bottle. I am a huge fan. Michter's is slowly turning me into a huge fanboy. If I could get my hands on more of their 10-year-old stuff, I mean, count me in. It's so, so good. All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for today. It's been a lot of fun to do round 2. Now, we move on to the final round. Makers and Michter's are moving on to face off against the Craig Barrel Proof and the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Rye. So we'll have 2 ryes and 2 bourbons. Hopefully you'll join me for the conclusion of this series, and you'll join me for the rest of 2024 as a subscriber if you haven't already subscribed. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.